Hello, everyone. This is Matthew Lyman, the host of the Landlord Advocates, and we welcome you here tonight. And we are here to talk about ERAP and all of what ERAP has been and how bad it is and why it needs to end. We're going to break it down into different categories of ERAP. We're going to talk about what it is, landlord experiences, and the downfalls of ERAP, and what happens if ERAP collapses. You're more than welcome to ask questions. We have comments already coming in. Hi, Jimmy. Hi, Sazy. On the stipulations, are they effective? We're going to go over a lot of topics tonight. I want you to ask questions. It would help if you put the letter Q in front of your question so that I can pick that out of comments and answer them for you. But let's begin. What is ERAP? ERAP started in June of 2021, known as the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. It was funded by billions and billions of dollars, federal taxpayer dollars, that was spread out across the United States. New York State received about $2.3 billion of that money. That money has been spent. That money is long gone. There is no more money left for ERAP. Now, Kathy Hochul had applied for money back in November for $996 million. It was only given $27 million. That money was gone longer than this show has started. She has since applied for $1.6 billion more to pay us landlords who are owed billions and billions of dollars in back rent, which we'll never see. One of the main points of ERAP is supposed to be providing funds to landlords for the back rent that our tenants owe us. Ideally, it's supposed to be 12 months going back and 3 months going forward. Ideally. But as we have seen since March of 2020 until now, that is far more than 15 months of back rent that is owed to us. And that clock is still ticking and ticking and ticking for those who continue to owe us. Now, you're going to see over on this side, I have some notes because I have so much to go over. I did not want to miss out on any of the topics that I wanted to share with you and educate you, as our motto is to make landlords better landlords. And that's what we're here tonight to do, to help you. Any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Hello, Father Fury. If you have a question as well, we are able to put it up on the screen, and we'll be able to answer that. And then share your question with us so that we can answer that so everybody knows. Now, how long does it take for the eligibility of ERAP? Well, as we all know, that has taken months and months and months. We have seen where landlords have applied in June of 2021, and they still don't know, am I going to get any money from my tenant? How much am I going to get? How much am I not going to get? And when you get that money, let's say in a 12-month time frame, your rent is $1,000 a month. ERAP has decided that you're only going to get $500 a month for those 12 months. You're going to get $6,000. In that covered time frame, the other 6 months what the rent that is owed to you, or the other $6,000 rather, that money goes bye-bye. You can never sue for it again. You cannot ask for it. The money is gone. And as many of you are aware, some are not, in New York State, it is required of you to accept ERAP. If you do not, you can be charged under New York State human rights law of violation of their human rights, discrimination, as it is seen as lawful source of income, ERAP, a lawful source of income, which we're going to tell you that we don't believe that it's a lawful source of income. Is it money? Sure, but it's not income. If you do not take the ERAP money, you cannot evict your tenant for half a year for the time frame that ERAP is going to cover, and you can never ask for that money in eviction court. All the tenant has to do is come to court with that and says, my landlord is denying it, and the court will more than likely dismiss your case. Also with ERAP, if you have received any money from ERAP and you're in the eviction process to get into queue, as most of us are trying to do, your case will be dismissed because you've taken rent. We disagree with that. If the tenant owes you $20,000 and you've taken $5,000, you should be able to evict on the remainder of what is due, but not in New York State, of course not. Jimmy, I want to thank you for all of your help and guidance. Nobody told you they love you today. I love you. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Jimmy. Jimmy is a social media follower of ours, and we have something that we're going to discuss with you later on in the show that has happened to him that will blow your mind away. My tenant has not been paying for 2 years. When do you not have a delinquency? Father Spirit, where are you? If you're in New York City, ho, 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 Merry Christmas 2023. If you're outside of New York City, you have a good chance of getting into court. In our municipalities in upstate, around the Capital District area, we're getting into court a month and a half to 2 months out. So right now we're getting court dates into the end of March, beginning of April, which quite frankly is not bad. It's not bad at all. The problem is that most of your courts are going to limit how many cases that they're going to hear every day because of prior cases that were filed from March of 2020 going forward. Can I file for a holdover case if I want to have my parents into an apartment with an ERAP case pending and the non-payment case stayed in court? We're going to answer that question, Fox out, because that's part of what's going on later on that we're going to mention, and we're going to give you that answer in a little bit. Now, here's the other one. Can a tenant reapply for ERAP? The answer, yes. Yes. Why, though? If they've already applied and they've already got money, why are they allowed to apply again for ERAP? They are. If ERAP has determined that they're only going to pay 4 months rather than 12, they're not going to pay the 3 months going forward, your tenant can reapply for ERAP. Now, there's a way around that, and we're going to discuss it a little bit later in our show, but we're going to touch upon it a little bit here. If your tenant has received a full allotment of the ERAP payment of 12 months going back and the 3 months going forward, we have some good news for you, but that good news is going to be coming later on in the show. Can a tenant who is on DSS or Section 8 apply for ERAP? The answer is yes. Why is that? I have no idea. Because DSS, a state-run program, and Section 8, a federally run program, looks at the income parameters of the occupants of the dwelling, and it's determined that the income that you are making, with the help that we are giving you, should be enough to pay your rent. But here these people are receiving these funds, and they can apply for ERAP. Now, for those that are Section 8, they're going to be at the bottom of the barrel of who's going to be able to get ERAP payments. So they're the last in the line. But the key is that they can apply, which will hold up your eviction for God knows how long. Now, landlord experiences. And if I missed anything, ask me to touch upon it. We also have on our YouTube channel, The Landlord Advocates, many videos that touch upon ERAP, the pitfalls of ERAP, the traps of ERAP, and the smoke and mirrors of ERAP. I have 2 sets of glasses, so the pair of my reading glasses are over here, so I can get a little closer to the screen to read your questions, so please forgive me. Father Spirit, you're in New York City. Thank God Almighty to get into court. It's going to take forever in New York City. It's the bastion of liberalism in New York City. We've been following a lot of the tenant organizations. Crown Heights Tenant Union, for one, we did a video on them, and their demands is ridiculous. Housing Justice for All in New York City is another one that puts a lot of pressure on it. On landlords, so you have one hell of a mountain to climb in New York City to get into court anytime soon to get your tenants out. Hello, Matthew. I have a signed stipulation for tenant to leave on March 31st. His representation is mobilization for justice. I'm not expecting him to leave. What can I expect? Hi, Stacey. Here is my question for you. Please tell me that this stipulation was reached in court. If you reach this stipulation without mediation sanctioned by the court, endorsed by the court, or in court, that stipulation that you have actually means nothing. It's not binding upon the tenant to do that. I mean, look at it. We are asking tenants to pay the rent, and they're not paying the rent. And that's a binding agreement that you're going to pay, and they're not even doing that. So if it's not an agreement that you reached in court, you may be SOL. You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, when I mentioned the DSS and the Section 8, we had a client who came in a few weeks ago. His tenant was on Section 8, on DSS welfare, and ERAP paid quite a bit of the tenant's rent. Now, honestly, how can he be on 2 government assistance programs and then get a third? So you have 3 government entities paying your rent for you, and now you're falling behind your rent again, and you're asking ERAP to continue to pay your rent for you. How is this even allowed to happen? How is this even allowed to happen? That you are consistently allowed to apply for assistance, and you're already getting assistance from state government and federal government, and now you're going back to the buffet line to fill out your plate again? Why? As I mentioned earlier, our social media friend, Jim. What happened in Jim, he called our office up. He's in Long Island. Jim called our office up last week and told me a story that the smoke and fire was pouring out of my ears. My staff had to grab a fire extinguisher to put it out. I was so pissed off with what Jim told me. His tenant received $44,000. Yes, $44,000 in ERAP money. He is still in the apartment. He is $16,000 behind in rent. His attorney has worked with Jim's attorney to try to come up with a stipulation. Jim offered this tenant a forgiveness of $16,000 to give him $10,000 to move out by the end of February 2022. The counteroffer by the tenant, who Jim told us many nightmare stories about this person, the counteroffer was this. How about this? We stay for 3 more months. We don't have to pay you any rent that we owe you during that time frame. The $16,000 that we owe you in back rent goes bye-bye. And we want, are you ready? Are you ready? $15,000 from you, and then we'll leave. Unbelievable. The entitlement and emboldened attitude of these tenants has been exacerbated not only by COVID-19 pandemic, but by the government leaders and the tenant advocacy groups and the legal aid societies of the world have allowed this to continue to happen. If Jim allows this to go through and does what this other side wants, it'll be well over $70,000 that this tenant has got from taxpayers and debt forgiveness. We have said repeatedly, and no one yet has challenged us on that, and we dare anyone to do so. We have said that COVID-19 has been the best friend that tenants have ever had. And it's the truth. They love COVID-19. Why do you think all these rallies are happening, all these protests are happening? They don't want it to end. They love what's happening. Their advocates will disagree with us, but we don't care because we know the truth. Now, we have seen when tenants have told the landlord, hey, I applied for ERAP, so I'm applying, you apply, see what happens, but I apply. Tenants, if you believe, or landlords, if you believe that, stop. Ask the tenant for their application number. It is a series of 5 digits and letters, numbers and letters. That's their application number. Just because they told you they applied does not mean that they did so. Don't believe what they're telling you. Some of the tenants that we have seen have applied for ERAP up to the point where they get an application number, but they do not submit any of the documentation that will take the application to the end, when the state, in the next 3,000 or 4,000 years, will make a determination on that application. They just go that far and then they don't tell the landlord or the court or whatever, or their advocates, that they never went any further. So everybody believes them. That's just to delay the process longer and longer and longer. Okay, Sizing, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It was agreed to by my lawyer and his lawyer and filed in court. That is good. Says it was agreed to in court, it's on the record. If your tenant does not leave by March 31st, what should have happened if no judgment was granted, because I believe it said it was a holdover. So if it was a holdover, what should have happened is that you should be in possession of the warrant of eviction now. And it should be stayed until March 31st. Then that way there, you can bring it to the sheriff's office or marshal or constable a couple of weeks before the end of March, so that when the end of March happens, the sheriff will have already served the warrant upon the tenant, and then they will meet in the middle, meaning March 31st, and you can very well have your tenant out the first week of April. If you don't have the warrant of eviction now, try to get it from the court. See if you can get it now, because they're going to stay in anyway until March 31st. But it doesn't mean that the sheriff cannot serve it upon your tenant now, tomorrow, next week. It does not mean that they cannot serve it. It just means that they cannot complete or execute the warrant until April 1st. So see if you can do that, okay? The other thing that we'll see with ERAP, the big delay that they love doing, is the tenants will come to court and apply for ERAP then. This has been going on since June. We have had cases in court right along, and then the tenants were signing a declaration of hardship and ERAP, a double whammy, a double punch to the face of the landlords to stop the eviction. Well, now that the declaration of hardship has died, that's a glorious death. We're all happy about that, absolutely. But now they had the ERAP, and instead of applying way back when, they're applying now because they know it can take months and months and months for a determination to be made on this application. Hi, Monica. How are you? Monica is one of our actual clients here in the Capital District. I'm glad to see that you're joining us. Any questions, you know what to do. Just ask me here, and we'll share it with everyone else. I have pending ERAP from October. Should I still file an eviction with an attorney, or will it be put on hold? So that's a good question. Good question. And I would say it's a yes or a no. What do you mean, Matt? If you file the eviction now, 2 things could happen. Well, 3 things. Your tenant, by the time you're in court, will be denied the ERAP funds or denied based on the merits of their application. And in that case, if you're in court, your case should go forward. If the application is still pending, the court will just adjourn your case out for another month, and maybe another month, and maybe another month, and maybe another month, until they decide that you're going to get any money or you're not. By applying now, and we have a lot, we have over 100 this week that we're applying in just one of our jurisdictions that we cover at our office. If you apply, it puts you in queue, meaning that you may be closer to getting that covenant warrant of eviction and getting your tenant out faster. Because with the way ERAP is going right now, we're going to discuss that later on with the downfalls and the trappings of ERAP. Who knows how long it will be before determinations are made? I mean, here you are looking at October, and you still don't know what's going on. Why? These people who are deciding whether or not we're going to get this money, if it was their paycheck, it wouldn't take them this long. But they're still getting a paycheck by sitting on their ass and not doing anything with these applications, or taking their time, their sweet time, and not giving us the money that they're supposed to give us per these applications. Dimitri, hello. One of our other big social media followers, and we invite you to do that too. We are very active on Twitter, and we're active on Facebook, NY Landlords. Some of you may be watching us on Facebook from the NY Landlords, and Landlords Only. Apply for both of them. I'm an administrator on both with some other great people, and we will approve your application as long as you meet the criteria, and you can participate there as well and learn so much from so many contributors. Now, we had one. Here's one for you. the landlord experiences. We had a client who the tenant was supposed to come to court on February 8th of this month. The issue was they were claiming habitability issues in their apartment, and they owed thousands and thousands of dollars in rent. Well, one of our local judges said, okay, we will hear your case, but your issues of habitability, and this could happen in your cases in your municipalities, so pay attention closely. What could happen in your municipality as happened in ours, the court mandated that the tenant provide in writing to one of our team members, one of our attorneys representing our client, was that they had to put in writing what it is that they had issues with the apartment with. What are your issues? That should have been turned into the attorney by February 1st, no later than. By February 8th, the tenant was supposed to come to court with $7,500 in back rent money as good faith to validate their reason for withholding that rent for habitability. As many of you know, many of these tenants cry and complain about where they live and how they're living because now you and the landlord are saying, hey, you haven't paid me. Can you pay me? I really need the money. The apartment was fantastic until you started asking for money. So in this case here, when February 8th rolls around, the tenant showed up to court, and yeah, you guessed it. They never sent the issues that they had to our attorney. That case should have been won in our favor then. And they did not show up to court with $7,500 in good faith money for the court to hold on to have a trial and habitability. What happened? What should have happened is that we should have won the immediate warrant of eviction and a judgment for the balance due. But here's where that ugly monster known as ERAP bit our heads off. They're gone. The tenants applied for ERAP on February 3rd. Even though there's no money, they applied for ERAP. Now their case is pending out until April or May of 2022. They knew what they were doing. And that Spider-Man, just as he was about ready to hit the skyscraper, he extended his other webbing and flew to another skyscraper. And that's exactly what these tenants are doing with ERAP. They're using it not as a tool to help them pay their rent or get you paid. They're using it as a sword against landlords to stay in the property and not be evicted for God knows how much longer. Jimmy, my tenant refusing me access into my rental property to conduct maintenance or check condition. I put up house for sale. However, my tenant refuses the realtor access to show house. That is the bad side of this, Jim, is that these people technically cannot let you into the property even if you have a lease. With a situation with the realtor, it's not an immediate need for them to come in. It's not like there's an electrical or a fire or a water hazard. If there was one of those or a heat issue, you can call your local police or fire department and say we need to do a safety check on the home. But these tenants are going to use COVID. I don't want you in the house. I'm afraid of you giving me COVID, so I don't want you coming in. Even though half an hour earlier they were at the local Walmart and the local mall and the local Crossgates Mall having a great old time, shopping, cavorting with everybody else and mowing down food with a whole bunch of other people at sporting events, but you can't come in to check your house. Excuse me. I live in upstate New York, and it's winter time here, and I have dry heat in my home. So my drink of choice is Gatorade. So you can see me take a sip of that, and that's the reason why. But Jim, that's the downside. One of the things I would suggest to all of you landlords, and it's kind of hard now, but when you are going to rent out the apartment to somebody, take videos of the entire house, like a virtual tour. Because then you can show the prospective buyer what the house looked like. It may not look like that when the tenant leaves, but you can always put the house back in the condition that it was when the virtual tour was taken. And then that way there, you'll be able to at least have something to show what the inside of the house looked like before that tenant moved in. It may not look like that after, but at least that's one step closer to possibly selling your home. Another way to do that, and it shouldn't be this way, is you can incentivize the tenant to leave through a cash for keys program. If you go to the Landlord Advocates, we did a video quite some time ago. Just scroll through our menu of videos, and we did a video on cash for keys and how you should handle that if you want your tenants to leave. Hello, Amir. Amir, how are you? Good night, man. I hope that just means good night, and you're still going to stick around and learn and ask a lot of questions. Is that not fraud? We like it to be fraud, but when the government is right now, no. Why didn't they, when they developed this ERAP application process online, why did they not make it in such a way that you have to provide, the tenant has to provide all of these answers, and then the computer system would generate a denial or acceptance based upon that information, but the tenant electronically signs that the information that they provide is true and to the best of their knowledge, and then if they are lying, they're going to be charged with perjury. How is it that credit card companies, you can apply and you can be accepted in 60 seconds? Woo! I got a credit card for $5,000 with a 60-second approval application process. So why couldn't they do that with ERAP? Why couldn't they do it? Many of us know that our tenants are making a ton of money. They're spending a ton of money, not by paying the rent, by having a grand time with the money that they have and not sharing that with us landlords. Why did the ERAP developers not develop the application process so that that information can be input and it can be denied right then and there, rather than taking the process to 10 and 12 months to determine whether the person is eligible or not? Because these tenants know full well that they're not, but it stops the eviction process. Now, some of the arguments that we have seen on social media from the tenant advocacy groups about ERAP is that the tenants are being evicted. They're being evicted. In the state of Arkansas, I believe it was, one of the judges up that way, one of the top judges there, who was hearing eviction cases, the tenants were getting money. They were falling behind after that money was given to the tenant and to the landlord. And the landlords were taking the tenants to court for delinquency of non-payment of rent. And the judge even admitted that they were stopping those from going forward. And her line was that the landlords cannot have their cake and eat it too. Okay, we may do a video on that on our channel, but for now, we're going to tell you, Judge, you are disgusting. You are disgusting. To say that we want our cake and eat it too, no, that's not what we want. We want the rent to be paid to us that the tenants owe us, or get out. Leave. Goodbye. Arrivederci. Arrivederci. Leave. The money that we receive from ERAP was for ERAP. The tenants, now that are falling behind after that, have this entitled mentality and this anger towards being served notice. My aunt served a tenant who had received $9,000 or $11,000 in back rent. That tenant fell behind the following month: September, October, November, December, January, February. They now owe, so 5 months they owe in back rent. When they were served the notice back in December to pay, the tenant was indignant and perturbed. He just got $11,000. What's he bothering me for now? And I'm like, oh, you received ERAP. Yeah. Oh, okay. So you received that one. Now you're falling behind. Her answer to me as I was leaving with smoke coming out of my ears from her apartment was, well, there's 3 adults in here and none of us are working. None of us are working? Oh, man. Foxhound, that is something that we're going to discuss a little bit later on. The common denominator is intentional ERAP stalled by legislators. You hit that right on the head. You hit it right on the head, and that's exactly what it is. Can ERAP case be pending for eternity? We're going to discuss that later on. I'm not going to say we have a format here that we're following, but stay tuned for our answers to that question and that comment. Yeah, exactly what he said. He has said COVID 6 times already. Funny that you mentioned that. We had a case in one of our local courts where the tenant came to court and said that they were around somebody that had COVID. They went to court like 3 or 4 times. The first time we went into court, they said that they were going to hire an attorney. Case was adjourned. They came back to court. When they went through the metal detectors, there's a form there that says, hey, you've been exposed to someone with COVID, blah, 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 blah. This tenant and his family said, oh, yes, we were. So the case was adjourned out again. On the third court appearance, we showed up. Our team did, because our team represented the landlord. We showed up to court. Now, landlords, if you're eating and drinking from this, stop, because you're going to spit it out of your mouth when I tell you what happened in court. The tenant told the judge who his attorney was, who was representing him from New York City. Well, yours truly, because we're allowed in court, I looked it up. The attorney who was representing him, I found 2 fascinating pieces of fact online about this attorney. One, the attorney was admitted to practice law in New York State. Are you ready? 1929. Admitted to practice law in 1929. That means the attorney is around 117 years old. That was one fact that I was able to ascertain by virtue of when he was admitted to practice law. The other fact that we were able to ascertain is that he was dead. So the case was adjourned out again. He came back again and was exposed to somebody else with COVID. Well, at that time, the judge had enough. He reached out to the New York State Office of Court Administration for guidance. That kind of puzzled me why he did that, but he did. And we eventually got the warrant of eviction and the judgment. But he had played COVID, as a lot of the tenants have. They had played COVID, the Declaration of Hardship, and ERAP to start all of these evictions, as we have seen, and they have been very successful at it. Now, the downfalls of ERAP. Before we do that, let's see if we have any questions. I don't want to leave anybody out. We will be there. Amir is a local client of ours, and we will be there Wednesday, 9 o'clock. So my tenant was paid for 1 for ERAP did not qualify for 3 additional. So they applied for ERAP all over. There's no way to know the other application will be approved. That's the problem. You call up ERAP and they say, well, keep us in mind, give us a call in a week. Right now it's pending or it's under review. That's the problem. Is that when will we know? 8 months from now? 80 months from now? 800 months from now? When will we know? And that's something that we'll talk about a little later, Zoe, on the, as we call it here. Let me just pull up my notes. Because what if ERAP collapses? That's later on. Okay, Missy, I apologize. Let me go back up and see if I can find your question. Here it is. My tenant applied for ERAP and was paid from September 20 to August 2021. Then September, November, so you got the 3 months going forward. The tenant has not paid from December 21 through February because she applied for ERAP again and delayed the eviction. Since we're looking at that, it looks like they were paid for, again, I got to do the math, so September, October, November, December, January, February, March. They received the full payment. They received the full amount of ERAP. That's a little bit later on down here, but I'll give you the answer to that and I'll elaborate a little bit more on that. The answer, no. But I'll elaborate a little bit later on why that answer is no. What are my rights? You in New York State, you abdicated those rights when certain people are in office right now and they've decided to take over our property rights and give them to the tenants. We've seen that. How much worse is it going to get? You know what you need to do in November. You know what you need to do in November. Now, as we have seen, the downfalls of ERAP, we've covered a little bit of that already, is that once the tenant applies for ERAP, it starts the eviction process. We've seen that. And that's what they wanted. Now, what happened, and we have a video on this, on December 13th, 2021, the Legal Aid Society in the state of New York sued the New York State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance. That is the office that's in charge of administering ERAP. They decided to sue them to have it reopened again because they did not want to see tenants homeless and out on the street because, as a lot of them say, evictions equal death, which I think is absurd. There's no correlation between evictions and death. There really isn't. But the liberals and the tenant advocates and the tenants will say that evictions equal death. Well, we're telling you, no, it doesn't. In our over 30 years in the industry, going on 32 come May of 2022, we have not yet seen a tenant die because they were evicted. Now, what happened was that when the Legal Aid Society sued, they sued in New York County, New York City. New York County, one of the most liberal counties of the 62 counties in New York State. We knew that they were going to win, and they won their case. So the judge in New York County, the Supreme Court judge, has decided around the January 10th, 11th, that ERAP would be reopened again so that tenants can apply for money that's not there, but apply anyway so that it will stop the eviction process. Now, we are pretty well tipped off at the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance. And here's why. They appealed this decision. During the appeals process, they have a right to close this application portal. I'm a Star Trekkie. I know Star Trek. Captain Kirk, the wormhole has closed. We're not going to get through the wormhole. We're stuck in this quadrant. The same thing goes here. The Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance could have closed this portal, this wormhole, to any more applications going through. They could have stopped it, and they chose not to. So why is it that you appeal? Because you want the process to close down because there is no money, but yet you keep the process open, keep the portal open. Why are you doing that? Why have you done that? It almost looks asinine that you appeal the decision when the ability to get what you want is at your fingertips. You can do it right now, but you're choosing not to. We don't know why. Now, Legal Aid and the advocates, and all of you know who they are in your jurisdiction, your municipality. A lot of them are called community action program groups, legal aid societies, and such. They said that they filed this lawsuit because they want the tenants to get the help and they want you to get paid. Well, we're going to tell you that that was not their motive. They may claim that that is their motive, but it's not. It was to stop the eviction. When they like to be in the position of their job and their pay to be forced into a program that will hold off them getting a paycheck for a while, months on end, but yet that bank account when the money is supposed to be has no money in it whatsoever. So these people who wanted to reopen ERAP are having it reopened, tenants apply, there's no money to pay us landlords, but yet they push for this to happen. Well, maybe that should happen to you with your jobs and the money that you get paid. Maybe you should be pushed into a portal to apply to get your paycheck from an account that does not exist. And you ain't getting paid for months on end, but you're still going to do your job. You're still going to provide services to your clients. And you're not going to bitch about it that you're not getting paid. Because that's exactly what you're doing to us landlords. You're telling us, well, apply, you might get some money, see what happens. You're doing that to us, and that's BS. That's BS. Dimitri asks, question to landlords, are you keeping your apartments empty or renting? That's a good question, Dimitri. And one of the things that we have seen happen is that a lot of the municipalities are conjuring up in their head, and some have enforced it, where you cannot warehouse your apartments for more than 2 or 3 months. If you were to do this, and we're going to do a video on it soon, if you warehouse your apartments, you may have to pay a fee, $200 to $300 a month, to your local municipality for that money to go into a homeless fund or a help the tenant fund, because they're saying that you should not keep these apartments empty because so many people are looking for housing. Well, that may be all well and good that they're looking for housing, but we're looking for good tenants and we're looking for the rent to get paid. Do not force us to rent out property that we are paying taxes on, that will keep the property up. But if by looking at the property, you will never know that nobody's living in that property. You'll never know. So why are these governments compelling us to put tenants in when we got to give them more money than the already absurd amount of taxes for stolen property that we're paying now? Now they're telling us that we may pay a fee to them because we want to keep the apartment empty? That's BS. That's BS. You have some more questions here? Here's one. Scarface, my tenant who lives in my basement was refusing to apply for anything. What should I do? Here's the problem that we have, my friend, is that we have seen that many landlords, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but many landlords are renting out illegal basement apartments. Now, could you get ERAP for that? Probably. But when it comes time for an eviction, they could say it's an illegal apartment, it's a basement apartment, you don't have a rental certificate or a certificate of occupancy on the dwelling, therefore you should not have rented it out to begin with. So that's a whole other Pandora's box that we kind of have opened up a little bit here. So we want to be a little careful there. But if they haven't applied, go ahead and apply for the eviction. What can happen to you? You may end up paying a fine. The judge may not give you a money judgment from the back rent that is owed. The best that you can hope for is that you will get the warrant of eviction to throw that tenant out of the apartment. That's about the best that you can hope for at the moment. Jimmy, we agree. I'm still amazed that in America, the government can come in and confiscate your property without compensating you in a reasonable time. Let the government house these people, not my responsibility. We agree. We'll address that a little bit later on in our video. Trust me, in our live show, we have taken a lot of effort to put together a lot of information here that will help all of us, and we're getting to that now. Now, as we mentioned earlier, we touched upon it already, there are tens of thousands of applications that are out there pending in La La Land. Out there just pending. Who knows how long it's going to take to approve them? So what are they going to do then? But there's tens of thousands. As we mentioned, New York State received about $2.3 billion initially. Kathy Hochul in November of 2021 asked the government for $996 million more for ERAP, and she was granted $27 million more for ERAP. On January 27th, Governor Kathy Hochul asked for $1.6 billion more for ERAP. Now, the only way that's going to happen, and here's why ERAP can delay these evictions for months on end. Here's why. In September of 2021, all of the states that received funding for ERAP, which you have allocated or given out over 60%, I think it was 60%, maybe even more, I apologize, or they were going to have to give back that money to the federal government for redistribution. Well, the government that we have now in the federal government will turn around and tell the states, give it to us, and those states will beg and plead, please give us more time to give this money out, and more than likely the government will do so. If they do not spend that money will then go back to the federal coffers for redistribution to the states. Well, what will happen then? Will it be a subcommittee of a subcommittee of a subcommittee that will decide how much each state gets and apply for more money? Well, how long will that take? And then once they get that, how long will it take for the state government to distribute this money to landlords? How long is that going to take? So even though they apply for the money, does not mean that they're going to get any money at all. Now, on to how to get your tenant out with ERAP. There's a way. There's a few ways. But it's hard and it's tricky and it's going to be hard. I'm going to tell you that right now. But before we do, let's see if there's any more questions. Lots of comments, which is great. And I agree. Some of your comments are fantastic, but I want to refrain from putting some of them out there, but they are fantastic. Now, here's how you can get your tenant out. Many of you know with the ERAP program, once you get money, you cannot raise the rent, You cannot evict them for a year on a holdover, meaning that they don't owe you any rent, you just want them to move, so you can't do that. You can, however, and we have seen one of our local county sheriffs distribute information to his staff, not the sheriff himself, but one of his underlings, to the staff, let them know that once the tenant gets financial assistance through ERAP, the landlord cannot evict for 1 year for non-payment of rent under ERAP. And when this representative of this sheriff's department told me this, I said, where is this officer? Where is this deputy? I don't want to get into too much to let it be known where and who. But I said, I wish to speak to him. He's a nice guy, but I want to set the record straight that when your tenant falls behind in rent after ERAP pays, after the covered period, you can take the tenant to court for non-payment of rent. You can absolutely take them to court for non-payment of rent or what ERAP has not paid. That you can do. Now, one of the things that we have seen that a lot of landlords are trying to do, and I understand that with ERAP, if you have 4 units or less, you can move an immediate family member into that apartment after you have done a lawful eviction. Now, what we have seen, and in my over 31 years in the industry, facilitating thousands upon thousands upon thousands of evictions, I can kind of one hand cut off 3 fingers how many times landlords have needed the apartment for their own personal use, I have not seen that. What's happening now is a lot of landlords are using that as a means to await. I don't blame you that you want to recover your property from the tenants. Now, here's a workaround with that. Here's how you can do this. When we say immediate family member, we're not talking aunts, uncles, cousins, 10 times removed. We're not talking anything like that. Immediate family member would be siblings. If you're a brother that owns a house, you want to move your brother in. But let's take it from the parents. The parents want to move their children in, the grandparents. That's about it. Grandparents, children, siblings is about all that you're going to move in. Married spouse. My wife wants to move in there. Her and I are having a falling out. You can do that, and that can be your reason. Now, you might say, well, Matt, how long do I need to keep them in the apartment? Now, the tenant advocates and them are not going to like my answer, but I don't give a damn, because this answer is for you, not for them. What I would do is if you wanted to have the apartment for a family member, move them in legitimately for 2 months. Make sure that if there's a lease, month to month, make sure that the utilities are on in their name, not yours. Make sure that they're getting married there for a couple of months. After that couple of months, they found someplace else, they reconciled, they want to move back in with mom and dad because mom's a great cook and dad knows how to fix the car. So they move back in, and then after that, rent it out to somebody else. The problem is that a lot of you are using this as a means to away in court. You should be able to. It's written in the law. You can do that. My concern is that some of these courts are going to examine this under a microscope, under the Hubble telescope, to make sure that you're accurate. They're going to be following you around to make sure that you have actually done this. And if you don't, they could hold you financially liable. And you may have to pay your tenant lots of money for moving them out, because you said a family member's moving in. Be very, very careful with that. I have a court date on Thursday for non-payment. I just found out she made alterations in the apartment without my permission. Should I file for an eviction for lease violations, or should I wait? What I would do, Missy, is that because it's so close to court, just a few days away, let's see what happens then. For the lease violations that you have there, and the alterations without your permission, and it is a lease violation, you can give a notice for that. But what you would do is you actually have some time to do that. It's a calendar month's notification, and today being the 21st of February, which isn't too much more time, but in the next 3 or 4 days, develop a very good argument. And we're going to address that right here. That's our next lead-in. So your question is great. It's the next lead-in. Is that you want to make sure that what your argument is about these alterations, you can prove it. Now, what we have here is I want to get back up to here. One of the things that landlords are allowed to do is that if your tenants are conducting or having a perpetual and substantial and intentional nuisance or destruction of the property, you can move forward with a nuisance eviction. And that's only 30 days. That's not 30, 60, 90 days. It's not based upon length of tenancy. It's based upon the nuisance and you need to get them out of the property. One of the things that really you must be very, very, very careful of is that if you turn around and you want to take them to court for that, we've had many of our landlords come to our team with their evidence and we've said, no. These courts are requiring you to give up your firstborn, to give up your heart in order to get that warrant of eviction based upon nuisance or destruction of property or whatever your foundation is, altering the apartment, as Missy has stated. Well, Missy, we're going to ask you this. Do you have photographs of this? Do you know that the tenant did this? Do you have proof that they did this? Because I'm going to tell you, here's another one, landlords. If you're standing, sit down, because this is going to piss you right off when I tell you what happened in one of our cases. We had a tenant reach out to one of our landlords, when a tenant reached out to one of our clients, the winter season 2021, complaining she had no heat. The landlord said, I'll be there in about 3 to 4 hours, and I'll take care of it. The landlord went to the property and realized that the furnace had been so tampered with in that time frame that the furnace had been cracked in that time frame. How this happened is that in that duration of time that he was coming up here from New York City to come to the capital region to fix that heater, the Bilko door from the outside was chained and locked. The chain and lock were broken. The Bilko doors on the side of the house where you could open it up and go down into the basement from the outside. I grew up in the country, so we always had one. For those of you that don't know, it's a door that you open up into the basement and you walk down into the basement from the outside. He goes through there, and the electric box was not tampered with. The hot water tank was not tampered with. Just the furnace. There was a drill that had been drilled into the pipe, thus causing no water, no exchange of the necessary fluids into the hot water tank, and the hot water tank broke. We took the case to court based on that nuisance. The judge dismissed our argument based upon nuisance because we had no proof that the tenant did it. Now, here is where it's going to blow your mind away. Are you ready for this? This tenant is the only occupant in a single-family home. Okay? So are we to believe that somebody walking by this street did the amazing Karnak, the Johnny Carson, ripping open the envelope and had the answer, this house has no heat. Let me get into the basement and fix it. Let me break through and fix the heat because I just know this is broken. We told the judge there's no way that somebody did this other than the tenant themselves because we had no proof. Case did not go forward. Another client of ours brought up to the court that the tenant on the second floor had, and they lived downstairs, the landlord, had dropped hot candle wax onto their car down below. The judge says, well, that wasn't intentional. Maybe they did it by accident. Like, what planet are you from, Judge? I burn candles and I blow them out and the wax gets cooler and cooler. It hardens. You light the candle again and it burns the wax down. And thus you have no more wax after you repeatedly do that with a candle. That did not go through. So if you want to use the excuse that the tenants are causing all this damage and they're causing a nuisance, you need to have an abundance of proof. What we call in the civil world, beyond the preponderance of the evidence. You heard in the criminal world, beyond a reasonable doubt. This is beyond the preponderance of the evidence. Videos. Have video. Have other tenants, if they're willing to come to court to testify. Have police reports. Have everything that you possibly can have. Now, some of you may want to see a nuisance. We had one client who said that they're storing vehicles in a parking spot that belongs to another tenant. The court's not going to evict on that. We've had other ones that say the tenant is smoking in the apartment. Is that a violation of the lease? Sure it is. Is it a nuisance to the point where the tenant has to be evicted? Smoke is legal. They're smoking pot. Marijuana is legal. I don't do any of that, but it's legal. So you have to make sure that your argument really is up there. We had one where we actually won. We never even had to take it to court. We had a video in a common hallway when the tenant had taken this very intimidating looking pellet rifle. It looked very real, and pointed it at the second floor apartment. It's multiple apartments. Pointed it from the stair up to the other tenant's door. That picture spoke 1,000 words, and the tenant knew that we had it, and she left without even having to go to court. So if you want to take the tenant to court for a nuisance or destruction of property, I want you to have more evidence than you think that you need, and then get even more to solidify your case. Now, the way to do that will help you is that before you serve what we call the predicate notice, that's the 14-day, in this case, the 30-day notice for nuisance. Before you get that served by a process server or an attorney's firm, which right about now you should hire all of us professionals to help you, what you should do is attach all of your evidence to that notice and have it served upon your tenant. Your tenant may look at that information and say, holy bleep, I'm done. I'm roasted. Take me out of the oven. I'm burnt to a crisp. I can't go to court on this because the evidence is overwhelming. I'm going to get my ass tossed out before I even walk into the courtroom. So get your evidence together and put it with that nuisance notice as much as you possibly can. Even though it will be hard for other tenants to want to come forward and testify because they have to live with that person who's created all of these transgressions, but it's a way to get the tenant out through the nuisance avenue. Let's see, there's other ones here. Another way, as we touched upon earlier with Missy, Missy says, can we record conversation with our tenants and use the court? You absolutely can. Yes, you can. New York State, if you guys remember back when you were kids and I had a head full of hair, and you're on the phone, both parties had to agree to be taped, that is not the case anymore. We are a one-party notification. So if you want to tape them, have your cell phone in your pocket. Absolutely. When my team goes out and serves notices, we wear body cams. It's there. If they're out in the hall, no. If they're inside the apartment and you want to audio tape them and what they're taping, yes, you know that you're doing it. The other party does not need to know. I know in our offices, we have Ring cameras and they're audio and videotaping everything that our clients come in and say. Not in my particular office, but in the common areas of our office, yes. But in my office, no. But yes, you can audio tape that information. Absolutely. And when you talk about that too, Missy, that leads me into the next point, is that whenever you communicate anything to your tenants, forget that. I want it to be texted, instant message, so you have it memorialized and writing somehow so that they know that it's there and you can use it later on in court. Email, text, instant messaging, whatever you have. If they leave a voicemail, record it, save it, don't get rid of it, and you can use that later on in court. You might say, Matt, isn't that excessive? I don't give a damn. The more you have, the better your chances are of your tenant going, bye-bye. Don't rely on a little something, something here, a little something, something there, because it may not be enough. Don't do it. I did not take a photo of it, but I was recording the conversation. That's okay. You can do that. Nick, thank you so much, my friend. Nick has his own radio show. Usually it's on Monday night, so I think he may have finished up and joined us here. Nick has been a follower of ours. He has a show. He's got some great followers on his. And Nick, share your information here, and I'll put it up on the screen. As Nick is aware, and thank you, Nick, we are very, very close to becoming in the top 4% of YouTube. The top 4% are those subscribers, those channels that have 1,000 subscribers or more. We are at, right now, we have last heard that we are at 992. It would be great. Most of you are already subscribers, I would hope. And don't tell me you're not. So if you are not, subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Landlord Advocates, because we have a lot of videos on it. We have, I think, 93 that will help you through this process. But subscribe to our channel. Nick's got more followers than we do. He's very active. He's been around for quite some time. And we've been on each other's show. We've also been on other people's shows showing our information. So, Nick, thank you very much, my friend. I just want to jump into some other questions that you may have. Yes, that's one of the biggest advantages of having video surveillance in common areas, roofs, and utility areas. Those are not areas. Once you leave your domicile, your private room, your bathroom, your kitchen, your living room, your dining room, once you break the barrier of that door, you now have given up your right to privacy. You're not in your changing room. You're not in the bathroom at a Stewart's or a Price Chopper or a Hannaford. You're not there. You're out in public, so therefore you have abdicated your privacy. So you're going to have cameras on all of that. Some municipalities have required that apartment complexes do have them, and it's actually in your best interest to do that. In court, the judge was told that my son was going to move into the house. Judge said he didn't think the bill was written for landlords to get paid from ERAP and then have tenant thrown out. Okay, that judge needs to go back and learn a few things. That's exactly what it's meant. I don't care whether they want to say the spirit of ERAP is not intended for that. I don't care. I really don't care. It's what we call in the legal what the 4 quarters of the document. It's meant that you can move the tenant out. I don't have ERAP paid. It's money that was owed already. It's not that we paid 10 months in advance and now we're throwing the tenant out. We're getting the tenant out because the rent has no longer been paid or we need the property back for a family member. So whether the judge wants to say that that's not right, I don't really care. And I don't think any of us landlords really care right about now because we have been shafted now since earlier in the March of 2020. Actually, we've been shafted in New York State since 2019 when a certain party took over control of New York State government. And that's when the Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act came out. That's where the lawful source of income came out. That's where a lot of repressions against landlords happened to us. So right about now, I don't really care about all that, kumbaya garbage. I don't care. Okay. I apologize. I am missing some questions. And if I have, I apologize for that. Yeah, I agree there too. I don't know if it applies to those either. I know that there's some lawsuits pending now that they're trying to overturn this stabilized rent control apartments to let family members move in. I just seen that today. One of our other social media followers shared that with us. I believe it was on the online publication, The Real Deal, but it was just shared. I just read a little bit about it this morning from my office. Can I request to withdraw the ERAP and let the eviction process go through? Amir, I wish we could. Your tenant has been there for a long time and given you one hell of a hard time, and I know that. I know that because I've been personally involved in your case. You can't withdraw because ERAP is a program called Lawful Source of Income. If you withdraw as well, the 6 months that ERAP or the 12 months that they were going to pay you, you can never seek that in court ever again. And you cannot evict for 6 months after ERAP has been approved for your tenant. That's the downside. I apologize if I missed your question. This is what happens. I need to get producers to help me with the show so I can do all of this for you. We have seen that, Jimmy. The judges and some lawyers don't know what's in the bill and what it says. We've seen that happen. The great thing about our team is that we have well over 100 years of experience, our team does, and we have actually educated courts, judges, and other attorneys on what the ifs, ands, and buts are about all of these programs that have happened so that they can better represent their clients as well as we represent our clients. Another great member who's been following us. Judge has been advising me to apply for ERAP, but Judge won't evict the tenant. Once the tenants apply for ERAP and you don't, it holds up the eviction even longer. But if the tenant did not apply for ERAP and you did not apply for ERAP, then there should be no protections whatsoever. The declaration of hardship, that garbage is over with. If the tenant does not apply for ERAP and is not and will not, and you did not apply for ERAP, the Landlord Rental Assistance Program, then you should be able to get your tenants out now for non-payment of rent. If the tenant didn't apply, it does not matter, because if your tenant doesn't apply for ERAP, it doesn't matter whether you apply, because the tenant has to be the one that applies in order to unlock the door for you to get any money. You can be approved and all of that, but until your tenant walks through that door, your wallet remains empty. I love all of you guys too. You know that. That's why I'm so dedicated to this. My whole life is this. There are times I'm up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning answering questions on Facebook groups and on Twitter and responding to comments. If you're watching and asking questions and participating is what makes us do this more and more and more. I apologize if I missed some questions. Right now I have my distance glasses on. I don't have my reading glasses on, so the screen's a little blurry. I apologize for that. But let's go back on to other ways to get your tenant out. If your tenant has received the 12 months past and 3 months going forward of ERAP, get the proof of that. Get it and get it right now. Right now. Because once you get that proof, and your tenant comes to court, and the courts and the tenant advocates are ramming this ERAP application process down the throat of the tenants, you can say, whoa, wait a minute here. My tenant got all 15 months that they were entitled to. Therefore, them applying for ERAP is null and void. Now, when the court say when they can apply anyway, they may. We've seen judges do this on many other instances and many other situations in court. So they may turn around and say, he can apply anyway. And that's where they're right, but they're wrong. The tenant can apply and wait to be denied because you already got your 15 months. You've already made yourself a pig at the buffet line. Let other people get up to the line too. So we're hoping that some of these, or actually all of these judges will turn around and say, you already got 15 months. You are not entitled to any more money. Therefore, your ERAP application is denied. Bye-bye. You're not getting any more money. It is time for you to move on. We're hoping that that is what happens with the judges and the tenants who have already got their full allotment of 15 months worth of ERAP payments. As we have seen here, New York City has made it virtually impossible to evict a tenant who has applied for ERAP. That was deliberate. They did it deliberately. Absolutely. And if they want to deny it, I invite them to come on to this live show and debate me till the cows come home. And we're in Antarctica, so the cows will never come home. So I'm willing to debate this to the end of time that this was not deliberate, because it clearly was. Now, here's the other point. What if ERAP collapses? What if ERAP collapses? What is the state going to do? Before we get into that, let's see if there's any more questions. Can I refuse to apply for ERAP and evict a tenant? Only if it is a nuisance case or a family member wishes to move into the dwelling. It was 4 units or less, and you need that apartment for that individual family member to move in. If you don't have that, refusing to apply for ERAP will only delay your eviction longer and longer, because if you get paid, you're going to get some money, and then you can move on, because more than likely your tenant is not going to continue making payments after that. So at that point, you should be able to move forward with a non-payment. My favorite Gatorade, blue cherry. You're welcome, Amir. Yeah, I really love what you do for us, brother. Now, we're in this together. This is, and I say this from this is not me. This is not you. It's all of us. And I wish there was more of all of us who would join together and fight these oppressions that the government is throwing upon us for so long and will continue to do so until there's some change in the state and federal government. That's what we need to have happen. Unfortunately, and I have said this, and I'm sad to say it, if our channel, yours and mine, Nick, were channels of Game of Thrones, Warcraft, I just know those games, or it was a Kim Kardashian channel, we would have thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of subscribers, and we would have millions of views of our trashy videos or how to get to level 5 or whatever in Minecraft. We need landlords who will become more participatory on our social media. Reach out to your legislators to let them know that these things must stop. They gotta stop. Now, when ERAP collapses, if the federal government does not provide a substantial amount of money for ERAP, therefore, if they don't do that, ERAP is dead. There's no more money. There is no money right now to pay. They're just keeping everybody at bay, all these applications. At last time I heard over 200,000 at bay for possible money to come forward later on to give something to the landlords. Now, what happens if they decide to give each landlord a few $100s just to stop the eviction and make the landlord start all over again? Is that what the state will do if they barely get anything from ERAP? Is that one of the plans that they have? Is to just give you a little bit, enough to keep your heart beating a little bit, but you're not running to your car. You're not going to be having a marathon anywhere. They're just giving you enough to keep you alive, but nothing more. Now, here's what we have been asking. What is New York State going to do with all of these pending applications if there's no more money for ERAP? What are they going to do? How are they going to allow landlords to move forward with all of these evictions? How are they going to do that? Are they going to regionalize applications based upon population, based upon how many applications? And they're going to say, okay, in Long Island for the month of September 2022, they can apply for court dates, but no one else can. And then maybe in November of 2022, the Capital District of New York State, Albany, Rensselaer, Schenectady County can apply for eviction, but no one else can. How are they going to do that? Because when they do that, that is so unconstitutional that you're holding back my ability to recover my property in favoritism and in preference of other people to recover their property. Is that what they're going to do? The other one. Is New York State, again, I have notes here because there's so much. Is New York State going to allow all the applications to be denied all at once? They're talking about a tsunami of evictions. Okay, there hasn't been a lot of filings now because everybody knows of the ERAP and how that's like another eviction moratorium that we have said countless times. So are they going to say to all of the applicants, sorry, ERAP is dead. All the applications are null and void. Everything is off the table. Landlords are now going to be able to move forward with all the evictions. You were worried about a tsunami all this time. Well, now you're creating that tsunami. You built up a dam to hold back trillions of tons of water. But that dam is going to break sooner or later. Are you going to knock down the dam so that all these evictions are going to go through all at once? How are you going to do that? Are they going to do this? Now, here's what we have here. Here's the other thing, too. How long will this go on for? We have New York State is going to continue on with this charade that we're going to still get money. We're hoping for the Biden administration and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen to give us money to keep the people from being homeless because we just can't have homeless people. We can't have them because they're going to die. COVID's going to kill them. Evictions are going to kill them, which is all a bunch of nonsense. It's all a bunch of nonsense. What are these tenants done? What have they done with the stimulus money? What have they done with unemployment? They haven't given that to any of us. Or most of them are not giving that to any of us. Most of them are working. They're not paying. They're going on vacation. They're getting cars. They're getting TVs. They're getting cell phones and $400 sneakers. But they're not giving it to the landlords. So how long is this charade that New York State is going to put on before we can move forward with these evictions? We had here, and I just want to cover my notes. We asked, is this going to go on for 3 months, 5 months, 8 months, 12 months before you in New York State government will turn around and say, you know what, we can't. We can't hold you back. You need to go forward. Or we're going to have to get together and sue the state of New York for billions upon billions upon billions of dollars for what you've done to us landlords. So that's exactly what you've done. Don't tell me it's in the name of safety of tenants and not spreading COVID. Those days are over with. Stop that nonsense too. Stop that crap. That's all it is crap. Now here's where we go on. Now here is our opinion that we believe that we are speaking on behalf of all of you fellow landlords. Why is government allowed to continue with this unlawful takings of our property? So that's exactly what it is. The eviction moratoriums that have been in place in New York and across the United States have been nothing but taking our property. When there's no money to pay us, why are we not allowed to move forward with these evictions? That has to end. And we should be able to move forward with these evictions now. If the tenants are out there and they have to find another place to live, then that's their problem. It's not ours. We should not bear the burden any longer. We should never have had to bear the burden of housing people without getting paid. And ERAP is another eviction moratorium. There's no money. There may not be any money. And even if they get another $1 billion, it will never make up for the amount of money that we have lost. Because now we're going on to months that are not even covered. We're not going to see that money, so it's got to end. Let's see if we have any more questions. Does the family member loophole work if you own a unit in a multi-resident 20 plus units? No, it doesn't, Foxhound. It's for 4 units or less. And if the person over 65 or disabled, that's a whole other nightmare you have to deal with. So if you're looking to get somebody who is disabled or over 65 or whatever, that may be another issue you have to deal with. So yeah, a 20 unit plus, that does not work. Lost my mouse for a second. How can a judge advise to apply for ERAP but won't give my property back, which has been stolen from me for over 2 years? I agree. Now, J1, answer this, and I'll try to catch up on it here. Did your tenant apply for ERAP? Did your tenant apply for ERAP? Yeah, don't hold your breath waiting for this administration to support landlords. Nick is absolutely right. Don't hold your breath, because that's not going to happen. They're going to put forth, we love you. Just let your tenants tell you, I'm going to pay you next week because I love you. You're my favorite landlord. And then when you're walking out the door, they're sticking up 2 fingers at you and laughing at you because they told you what you wanted to hear. Same thing here. This administration, we're here to help you. We're going to help you, landlords. No, they're not. They don't really care about us. They're just handing out this olive branch of ERAP to satiate us. So then it's like, oh, well, you're idiots. You'll just hang on and you'll be happy with everything that we give you. So this administration is not going to help us. So with that said, you know what you have to do in November of 2022, midterm elections. You know what you have to do. Because I can tell you right now, I'm involved in politics. I have been for a long time. And if a certain political party was in charge of New York State right now, a lot of what has happened to landlords will not be happening right now. I guarantee it. I can prove it to you. And that's the problem too. J1 said, and I never rented again. One of the issues that they brought up today in the local capital region newspaper called the Times Union is they brought up that a lot of landlords wanted to just sell their properties and get out of it, so that's displacing tenants. Well, that's their right. We own the property. If we want to sell it, we want to sell it. And the reason for that being is what the government has done to us, what tenants have done to us. If the government and tenants did not screw us over as much as they have over the last few months, we want to hold on to these properties. We didn't buy these properties to sell them. We want these properties as an investment to make income, not passive income, as many of these people want to think, want us and the rest of society to think that this is passive income, because it sure as hell is not passive income. Just as any landlord that has had to go in and clean up a dirty toilet or a bought for the apartment and walls and painting and all that. Tell me that is passive. It ain't. We did not buy these properties to sell them. We bought them to hold on to, sell in our senior years, and live off of that money. We bought it to earn income to send our children to college or to take our family on a vacation. Now, some are going to say, well, that ain't right. Yes, it is. It's absolutely. If the landlord wants to take the profit they make from these properties and flush it down their toilet and using it to wipe their ass, they have every right to do so. So you advocates, tenant advocates who may be watching this channel, I invite you, if you want to have a show and have me come on and we want to debate this, I'll be more than happy. Just do me this one favor. Don't blame the internet crashing as to why the show went dead. Blame it on the fact that you can't stand up to me and debate me with the knowledge that I have of over 30 years helping our landlords and being a landlord myself. So we should not be in a position where we want to sell our properties because it's too much of a nightmare for us. That's a bunch of bull. Yeah. And what's going to happen here, Jimmy? Like Jimmy is saying is the small-time mom and pops are going to sell our properties off to the big-time landlords, the big conglomerates. And then you tenants who think you have it bad now, you have no idea what's down the line for you, what happens, what Jimmy says here, what you have no idea. Because those landlords, those big-time landlords have thousands of apartments, millions of dollars worth of real estate, have got pockets so deep they go from here to Australia. And they will have the best lawyers to fight your legal aid attorneys and all your little tenant advocates and all those. And they're going to win in court much more than we little landlords are winning now against you. So you have it bad now? Oh, no, you don't. The grass is very green on this side of the fence. We're willing to work with you. The idea that landlords want to evict tenants is absolutely wrong. That is the last thing that any landlord wants to do. So the idea that we want to do that is just a bunch of bull. None of us wants to evict tenants, but we're being forced to do so by our government. Thank you, Stacey. Now, again, let me go over some more of this. Now, another one. Here's another one that is really, really great. Brian, I won't say his last name. Brian's suggestion on a few Facebook sites that we are administrators, and that I am an administrator on. He suggested this. And Brian, if you're watching now or in the replay, I am totally blown away by your point of view here, and I love it. What Brian stated is that all of these tenants who get this earned income tax credit or get a tax rebate from the state and federal, all of that money should be taken from them and given back to the government for the ERAP money that they received. So if a tenant got $10,000 in ERAP, and they're getting back $6,000 in taxes, bye-bye tax refund, the state is taking that back for the money that we paid towards your rent. Brian, that was a phenomenal idea, and I gotta be honest with you, I wish I had thought of it, but Brian did, and kudos to you. Will the government do that? No. They do it for child support. They do it for bills that are required, student loans. They do it then. So why won't they do it with ERAP? Why won't they take your tax refund? Because obviously you were working, making money, and you were paying your rent, and now you're getting this big tax refund on earned income tax credit, which I don't like that program either, but you're getting all of this money, so therefore, your money that you're getting, no. Before it comes to your house for you, the cash is coming back to the government, and they're going to take it towards the money that we taxpayers pay for you to live in your apartment for free for months on end while you were working. The other one that I had suggested here, one of my ideas that we think that should happen, is that all of us landlords who are receiving money from ERAP and LRAP, the tax liability of that is ours. Us, we have to pay the tax liability. I believe that we should not have to at all. I believe that the tenants should bear the burden of the tax liability of what we landlords have received from ERAP. Now, yeah, it's our income, and should we pay taxes on that? Yes. But why are the tenants getting $10,000, $15,000, or not Jimmy's tenant, $44,000. $44,000 in ERAP, tax-free. You don't go out and the price is right and rent a car and not have to pay sales tax on the car. Or the trip to the Bahamas, you have to pay the taxes on it. So the tenants should be made to pay the taxes on this. Why are we landlords being forced to do that? Why? Now, what I've got here is that I have a little narrative that I'm going to read that I think that we all feel the same way. I'm not going to shut down the show after this because there will be some questions, and I'll be happy to answer your questions then. And those that I have missed, please send them again. And then after a few minutes or half an hour of questions and answers, then we'll say goodnight, and I will prepare for a new show. But here's what I'm at with every landlord, I would dare say in the United States, but we're here in New York. Here's what we all believe. We landlords demand that ERAP be shut down now. Tenants need to be held responsible for this debt and not taxpayers. We demand that landlords be allowed full access to the courts with no ERAP impediment to evictions. That's exactly what we're asking for. Is that we want to be able to, now that I don't have to read this, I can put these glasses on, and now I'll be able to read all your questions much easier on the screen. That is what we want. Put an end to all of this garbage. Now, granted, if you had all the money right now, and we can get this money in the next 2 or 3 weeks, yeah, great. But we are in a position where we can't even say that we want ERAP to continue to pay us. Because once you give an inch, the government's going to say, well, let us give you a mile. But in order to traverse that mile, it might take us 8 to 10 months. And there's no guarantee that the train is going to continue on. It's going to run out of steam. Here is a great question from Baz45. Can tenant get cable without my permission? Even though, and now ERAP materials continue to answer the questions there. This is not related to ERAP, but because I'm a landlord advocate for you, I'm going to answer every question that I possibly can. I don't have every answer, but I have a lot, and I'll answer this question to you. Can tenant get cable without my permission? The issue that we have seen so many times with the Dish Network and cable, we have a client right now whose tenant owes a few months' worth of rent and then calling in the cable company to drill holes into the house to put the cable into his apartment. The landlord said to the cable company, no, you're not going to do that. You're not going to drill into my house to put cable into this guy's apartment. Not going to happen. So what happens after that? The tenant calls the local police. The local police, nice as they are, and I know them, told the landlord that they have to allow it. And the landlord does not have to allow it. That is your property. These companies do not have a right to drill a hole into your house. I've seen it with Dish Network, where they put the right on the side of the house onto the siding or onto they're drilling holes. And you're the homeowner, they did not have permission to come onto your property and do this. If you find this happening, I would absolutely call your local police and say, no, he does not have permission to put cable into the house, especially they're behind the red. If he has internet on his phone or her phone, then you can watch Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever on your phone. But to sit back and watch cable TV, hopefully your tenant is all caught up with the rent and whatnot, and maybe you might want to do it if they're a good tenant. But if this is a tenant that hasn't paid rent in months and they want to sit on their ass all day and watch Days of Our Lives and all that other crap, no, I wouldn't do it. They knew that there was no cable when they moved in. Therefore, they knew the situation they were when they were there. Therefore, they're asking you to alter their living arrangements to accommodate them. And cable TV is not something that they need to have to survive. So I myself, I would say, no, you're not getting cable. Let's see. No new developments, high bar for new renters, low supply of housing, and skyrocketing rent in 3 to 4 years. Yes, I see that happening as well. Sorry about that, I have a little gnat flying around. We have plants in our house. It's like data trippers. They're everywhere. And in this temperature, you get a couple of gnats here and there. And I have one that's flying around, and I don't get, I won't get distracted anymore. I'm sorry. No new developments. I agree. When the good cause eviction that the New York State government is looking to propose, and we testified in a joint committee in the New York State Senate on January 7th in opposition to good cause eviction. We have a couple of videos on our channel. One is about the good, the bad, and the ugly good cause eviction. And then we did one right after January 7th, somewhere around the 9th or 10th. We had scrunched the 7-hour testimony or hearing down to 16 minutes of our testimony and a Q&A in regards to good cause eviction. If that happens, it's going to slow down development even more. And the high bar for new renters. The one good thing I will say that has come of this, and I don't really like to say a good thing, is that a lot of our landlords, you and our clients, would rent to tenants just because they show up with money. We have a video called Points to Ponder. And in that video, it's a 1-minute video that says landlords do not rent to money, rent to people. And many landlords were renting to money because the money was there in front of their face when they rented, and they didn't realize who they were renting to. So now a lot of landlords are setting the bar. We saw one of our social media groups today. A woman put forth a plea. There's a family of 4. They need an immediate place to live. They come with cash. They got plenty of cash to move in. And the comments were all what I was very happy to see. No, no, no. Just because we have cash is not going to be the only prerequisite that we need for a tenant to move in. We have said that many landlords have a 5-word application process. And this 5-word application must end immediately, or you're going to get a lot of what you deserve because you did not do that. And this 5-word application process is this: how much money you got. How much money you got? That has to end. So I agree. New renters, low supply of housing. We keep hearing a lot of people wanting to have affordable housing. We need affordable housing. When affordable housing is going to happen when you stop having inflation so damn high. When you constantly are giving to the tenants and taxpayers have to pay, that's going to create more expenses for us taxpayers. Because why? Our taxes are going to go up at the local level, the state, and the federal level. Taxes keep going up. Well, when they go up, those costs are being shared and passed down to tenants. Therefore, that's going to happen. Also, when you look at all of these oppressions and tyranny against us landlords by government and surrogately through tenants, because the government's allowing them to do this, of course you're going to have a reduction in housing. Of course you're going to have a lack of affordable housing. You're creating the monster. That's the problem with a lot of governmental people out there. We know who they are. Ayanna Pressley, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Cora Bush, Elizabeth Warren, those types of representatives, Bernie Sanders, they all want to find victims. They create victims, and then they try to solve the problems for these victims. Well, stop creating the victims, and you don't need to find a solution because the victims will not exist. So yes, in low-income housing, affordable housing, no. Stop with the bull that you're putting upon us landlords, and housing will drop. But when you have all of these moratoriums and us landlords not getting rent for months on end, that is why rents are going up. The good tenants, and there are a lot of them out there, we know who they are. There's some really nice tenants. I'm in court many times, and I sit in a part of the courtroom where the tenants and the landlords do not sit. And I've had tenants come over and shake my hand. Tenants have come over and give me a hug. Thank you for working with me. We've had tenants who have become landlords who have hired my office and my team to help them. So what's happening is that these bad tenants and the governments that are allowing it to happen are causing good tenants to pay more and more in rent. And honestly, that's not fair. But what are we landlords to do? What are we going to do? Look at the prices of food and gas. The government has caused inflation, so we too have had to share that inflationary costs with the providers or the people that we provide housing to, goods and services to. But are there any active ERAP lawsuits in the state as we should follow? I just saw on one of our channels, I think it was NY Landlords, I'm almost positive. We have great social media followers. They're fantastic. They just shared on The Real Deal. Google The Real Deal. And they talk about a couple of lawsuits by the Rent Stabilization Association. And there's another one, and I'm sorry, I think it's called the Community Housing. It's called CHIP. Those two right now are looking at not so much ERAP, but about the takings of our property. And any lawsuit that has been brought now, in the past and now, that will help remove all of this BS that we've been facing, all the more that we win, the easier it will be to win future lawsuits. So Google The Real Deal after our show, and you can see some of the lawsuits that are pending. You're right, Jimmy. Cable and internet are not essential. You get them on your cell phone. So get them on your cell phone. There you go. You don't need cable and internet there. If you need internet, go to your local McDonald's, go to your local Burger King. They usually provide free Wi-Fi. Go to your local library. They provide free Wi-Fi. So you can hop on there and get your Wi-Fi there. You don't need to provide cable and internet. I cut the cable here in our home years ago because the bill was getting too damn high. And we do just fine with the internet that we have in the house. But again, if it's not an amenity that was provided for them when they moved in, you don't have to provide it. One of our clients asked me just yesterday if he could cut the internet that is given to the tenants for free because the one's not paying the rent. And I said, that was an amenity that you were providing to the tenant when they moved in and they knew about it. You cannot cut off that amenity because they are not paying the rent or because you want to evict them. So if it's an amenity that you provided and they knew it and you provided it when they moved in, you must continue to provide that to them until you evict them. That said, some of you are a little too damn generous with your tenants. You want to be friends with them, you want to marry them, you want to have their children. Stop that. You don't need to provide all of these amenities. Your tenants should be providing it for them. The biggest one is utilities. Because you'll find that many of these tenants will have their utilities up so damn high. I know I went out and joined my team of process servers out the other day, and I showed some tenants where it was damn cold. And they opened up the door, and they were wearing shorts, no shirts. The heat in the apartment was so damn high, I almost passed out on the front porch. So if you're providing utilities for your tenants, you will have to do that if you are having 1 meter or 2 meters for multiple apartments. When you can, and you can afford it, I will separate the meters and have each meter for each apartment and make them responsible for the utilities and not you. Thank you, Jawan. Thank you. You're welcome, Baz. You saw it right there, Jim. No utilities. No utilities. Okay, they were responsible for paying for cable in their lease. So when they had that, when they moved in, was the cable bill in their name when they moved in? Or did it remain in your name after they took tenancy? Answer that question for me, Jim. And while he's answering that, I'm going to see if there's any questions I may have missed. If I have, let me know. Like I said, I have my other glasses on so I can see the screen a lot better. We're going to go a few more minutes. And, one of the things somebody had asked for our email and all of that other stuff. Our business is ideallegalnys.com. Ideallegalnys.com is our business email. And you can also find us at the bottom of the screen, as you can see, the Landlord Advocates on YouTube. I'm hoping, honestly, that when I sign off in a little bit, that I will find on my phone that the Landlord Advocates has reached over 1,000 subscribers. That would be great. If we haven't, we're still going to be here. We're still going to share information. We're still going to share everything that we possibly can to help you. I agree with Dimitri. She said they have violated our rights unconstitutional. We should file a class action suit against the federal, state. The city, not so much, because in some cities like Eric Garcetti in Los Angeles, he's doing a lot of this. The Seattle City Council is looking to extend their eviction moratorium a little bit longer because they don't want people to be homeless, which is getting a little ridiculous. You know, what about us and our property rights? Jimmy, I'm not going to like this. The bill is in my name. That ends when they move out. You do not give over. Do you give over it? And I say this with love. This is one of the things that we tell our clients on our social media. We tell you this with a hug, not with a fist. I say this with a hug, Jimmy. Do you rent to a tenant on a premise that they're going to give you the security deposit and the rent? Do you drop the keys in their hand before you get that money? I will tell you, some landlords have done that. We've seen it come into our office. We asked, when did the tenant move in? When they moved in January 2018, and now it's December 2018, and they owe 12 months worth of rent. I said, so they moved in with no rent or security? Well, they told me they were going to pay me. What? You don't do that. The same thing here, Jim. Before they move in, if you want them to have renters insurance, you want to see the policy. If you want to see the cable bill in their name, you want to see the number, the application number, the account number. You want to see that. And you want to make sure it's real. You don't want to make it, I'm going to date myself 8765309. We don't want that. We want the actual account number. Same thing with National Grid. You want to make sure that they had that on before they move in. Because for a lot of areas, especially here in New York State, if your tenant moves in with those amenities already on, even though the lease says you have to turn them on, now you have to evict them because they did not do so. And they're going to rack up a bill like no tomorrow. So you're going to end up losing out on the rent and the utilities, cable, trash, anything that you provide, because you did not make sure it was in the name of the tenant before you drop the keys in their hand. Do not, yep, here it is. My keys. Before you drop the keys in their hand, you don't want to do that. You want them gone, okay? So, Jimmy, you and I spoke on the phone. If you're on the phone with me right now, I'm screaming in your ear. But I'm going to scream at you right here. Don't do that again, my friend. No more. Okay. I did have, and I failed to do this, our program allows us to ask different questions that we have. And one of the ones I failed to ask is, how many of you have been in eviction court? How many of you have been in eviction court yet? And what has happened? What has the judges done? We know in some of our courts, the judges, the tenants haven't appeared, and we've gone, our team has gone, our attorneys have gone, and we've seen the judges just arbitrarily lower the amount that was seeking in the petition papers for back rent for our clients with no foundation to do so. They just decided to lower them because the amount of rent that the tenant owes seems kind of high. Well, I don't care what you think, Judge. I don't care if you think that the rent is too high. It was an agreed upon rent that the tenant agreed to pay when they moved in. They haven't paid in 20 months. Therefore, that's why. We had a case, one of our good friends, a military man, I won't mention his name, good guy, really good guy. His tenant owed like $28,000. The judge dismissed $6,000 of that at the hearing. There's 3 adults that were living in this house. 3. I know, I dealt with them myself. And they owed all that rent. And the judge just decided to knock $6,000 off on the judgment. Now, I say this to the judges that do that. We're all allies here, or at least I would hope that we would be, and that you would be truthful and be honest and do your job objectively. But when you decide to remove part of that money from the judgment because you just feel it's too high, you are clearly not being objective, especially when the tenants are not even there. When the tenants are not in court, the court must presume that your argument is valid and that the tenants either agree with it or they have no foundation of argument to refute it. Therefore, the court should realize that when everything was done procedurally right, that's why you hire professionals like my firm and others, you make sure everything is done right. The court should not have just decided to remove money judgments or reduce them down. One of our other great media followers, Mia, most of you have seen her NY Landlords, was in court the other day. She got the warrant of eviction, but the city court judge in her case decided that there would be no money judgment in the non-payment case, and that she would have to take the tenant to New York State Supreme Court because that's how much money is owed. The other jurisdictions do not have the statutory limits that the New York State Supreme Court has. Those are limited. New York State Supreme Court is not. Therefore, he told her to go there. I told her that she should have won her case based upon the filing of it and the non-payment, but she did not win at all, which was very, very wrong. All right, so let me help you. We had basic rent amount plus utilities costs based on monthly bill. So am I to believe that your utility bill is in your name and that they were going to pay a certain amount of that? Is it a shared metering situation, Jim, that there's one meter for 2 or more apartments in the building, or you're owner occupied and that you're going to split the bill with them? Because that's something that's not allowed in court. Because now we're saying that a certain amount of utility was used by the other without having definitive proof as to how much utilities were used for each unit. Let's see, Jim. There's other questions there too. So when he wasn't paying me the payment amount due, I shut it up. Is that legal? What could happen is that they could look at the value of what you cut off. When it costs him $75 a month to put cable on in his own name, the court could say you got to pay him that amount of money. It's an amenity that was provided. And I will digress a tiny, tiny bit here. I myself was just in a New York State Supreme Court trial. I was a commercial tenant, and the commercial landlord saw how lucrative and how well my business was doing and decided to do certain things. And one of the claims was that the amenities were not included. And we had more than well shown the court that, yes, the amenities had been included for years, and his desire to not allow me to have those amenities anymore was not going to happen. So that was one of the issues that we had, and that lawsuit is a lot more than $10,000 or $50,000. It's in the six figures, mid six figures. So when you're providing amenity, whether it's cable or internet or anything like that, technically you're not supposed to turn it off because it was an amenity that was provided when they moved in. What is your prediction of how ERAP? Yes, I agree, Fast. Quasi, it ain't quasi. It is a moratorium, and we know that. We'll keep cases pending. Seems like in the 1 to 2 year mark, we can face a wave of foreclosures and anarchy. I gotta tell you, I'm feeling that way too. Is how much more are we supposed to bear? ERAP, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna have a flood and shut down all of ERAP? Are they gonna do incrementally? Because if they do incrementally, that means you, Foxhound, would be able to evict your tenant before I can evict mine, because you might live in an area that they just decide, well, we're going to let them do evictions first. So when that happens, I'm going to sue the state over that, because that's BS. If you're allowed to evict now, then every other landlord in New York State should be allowed to evict right now. So I'm hoping that they shut it down. I'm looking at the way the things are going in New York State. This is February. I'm hoping that the federal government is supposed to sometime in March do a possible reallocation. Well, that's a bit possible. And who knows what we have in charge now will that really happen. I say by the time they get any money, if they get any money, and then they look at these applications, Hochul tried to say towards the end of January, I think it was January 29th, she had posted on her website that well over 100,000, I think it was 174,000 applications have been approved, but have no money. I think that's a bunch of BS. That I don't think that many were approved. I don't think anywhere near that. I think I was just trying to encourage the government to believe that many were approved, and therefore let's give them the money. But if they were not approved, we've seen people that were applied in June of 2021 who still have no money yet coming their way. Are they going to do the same thing here? I predict in New York City, if they keep this up, for many of our fellow landlords in the city, they may not have their tenants out until next year. Outside of that, our offices are located in the upstate region, the Capital District area of New York, Saratoga, Schenectady, Albany, Rensselaer, Montgomery, Fulton County, Warren County. That's where we're located. Getting in the court, we're getting pretty good. The court dates are running. Right now, it's the middle of February, give or take. Actually, in the third week of February, our court dates are running probably about 5 to 6 weeks from now. That's not bad. The problem is that when they go to court and they fill out the ERAP application, how much longer is it going to be when they determine to shut down ERAP? Is it going to be another 4 or 5 months? And then are they going to marginalize or regionalize how they're going to allow tenants to be evicted, have landlords in eviction court? That's the biggest question that we have. We should call up our legislators on both sides of the aisle. And I've had some great people. Senator Jim Tedesco, he represents all the people, but he's been very welcoming and very helpful. And his assistant John has helped us get onto the hearing on January 7th about good cause eviction. So he was quite helpful to allow us to testify. But they empathize and they understand. Here in our area, Democratic member Angela Santa Barbara, he fully understands and he supports the position of landlords and these transgressions that New York State government has done on us. So we have supporters on both sides of the aisle, more so on one side than the other, but we need to reach out to them tomorrow because leave a voicemail message. Leave a voicemail. Call them now. Send them an email. We've done it. And let them know, end ERAP now. There's no money, end it now and allow us to get back our properties. That's what we gotta do. Pan, I agree. Don't ever allow amenities to be given to these tenants. I agree with the word, but I'll say tenants. I had one tenant who had the utilities including the rent. The monthly rent was $600 a month, and the utility bill was astronomical. Of course, when they're not paying the bill, and the utility companies like Con Ed and National Grid and Pacific Gas and whatever they're called, they're all raising their rates to make up for the money they haven't made because the government, especially here I know in New York, has said utility companies, you can't turn people off at all during this pandemic. So they've been racking up the bills there. And who's going to pay for that? You and I, later on down the line, which most of us have seen in our last bill that we got in January, it was sticker shock. It's like, holy shnikes, as Chris Farley would say, holy shnikes as to how much more we're paying in utility bills. So absolutely do not include utilities because a lot of these tenants, as much as the tenant advocates and all of them want to tell you, these people have the heat so damn high. This is what I've been saying for years. These tenants have the heat so high in the wintertime that if that was the same temperature in that apartment in the summertime, they would have the air conditioning on. They're walking around in tank tops and shorts, spaghetti strap tops. They're walking around with no shirts on at all. And the heat is a killer. I've never had that heat in the apartment, in my home, any time of the year. And they're walking around up that way in the wintertime. But yet HEAP, the Home Energy Assistance Program, paid for by taxpayer dollars again, is giving them the maximum amount allotment for wood pellets, oil, propane, and electricity, National Grid. They're going to be paid something, but it's nowhere near enough to pay the bill down. But do they really care? Probably not. Oh, hi, Phil. Phil is another one of our followers. I didn't know that was you, Phil. So, Phil, I've known him for many years. And Phil is one of our clients. and he has a tenant right now that he's checking on to possibly evict, because that tenant owes rent money as well. Oh my God. Rick Motto, read the screen there. I understand Rick is very upset. I will tell you that in the privacy of my office, I may say the same thing that Rick says here, but because I have a modicum of, I don't know, I can't really say these things, but $90,000 in rent, no money from ERAP. ERAP is shut down, reopened, but there's no money. Hasn't received a dime. All of his paperwork is in, and the tenants are sitting back. They're probably sitting back, Rick, right now, laughing their ass off at you. Owe you $90,000 in rent. I assume that's collective. I hope that it's a collective of a whole bunch of tenants and not just one. But they're sitting back and they're owing you all this money, not paying you. They want to go and they want to apply for help to get their rent paid. I'm just fixing my camera here. They want to go and get help to get the rent paid while they're probably enjoying all the money. We had a tenant, and this is helpful. It brings back a memory. We had served a tenant a few weeks ago. She was 3 months worth of rent, around $4,800 in rent for a single-family home. She said that the money she has to pay the 3 months that she owes, but she applied for ERAP, and she's afraid that if she pays the money to the landlord, and the landlord has ERAP, she's double dipping, and therefore she does not want to pay the landlord the money. So therefore, here we have a situation where the tenant has the money to pay, wants ERAP to pay for her, so she can take that 3 months of money and go to maybe Cancun, maybe go to California, Disney World, wherever, do whatever she wants with it, because she's got the money to pay. Now, if you're in a situation where your tenants have paid, and then ERAP pays you for the same time frame, then yes, you have to do one or two things under ERAP guidelines. You have to give the money back to the tenants or apply it to future rents as long as they still live on the property. But can you imagine, yes, I'm not paying the rent because ERAP is going to pay for me. Or I hope that they're going to pay for me. So she hasn't paid for the 3 months. She applied for ERAP. That could be another 5 months. So here she is with this money accumulating and not going to pay the rent and move out. Unbelievable. Okay. I don't see any more questions. I will put up one more question here to see. I know this one. This can happen to a lot of us. Did your tenant fail to pay rent after ERAP paid? Of course. Most of them are not going to pay. And then when you approach them, or not you, but when the processor or the attorney that you hired approaches them for the money that they now owe you for the previous rents that they haven't paid, like in Jimmy's case, $16,000 in rent, they get this attitude about them. Well, you already got money, so what are you bothering me for? It's just amazing. It's just amazing. I will give all of you, if you would, we're at 2 hours and 3 minutes doing our show. I've gone as long as 4 hours, but my ass does not have another meat on it, and therefore the chair can get a little uncomfortable that I'm sitting on. It's a dining room table chair that I have, but I'm still willing to sit here. What we'll do is I'll give you each about 5 more minutes. If you have any more questions or comments, and I'll be happy to answer any that you may have. This is a good one to pass on. What is the position of the mortgage lenders? Any substantial lobbying? I believe that a lot of them are going to do that because right now, interest rates are going to go up. I was actually surprised to find that it is a seller's market right now, and people are paying $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 or more over ask. I'm very surprised that that's happened, but it might be the big people with deep pockets buying these properties from us. If that's the case, like I said earlier, tenants, you better be careful because what you thought you had it so bad, you're going to realize you had it so good. With the mortgage lenders, I think that they're going to be a little hesitant because some of these tenants may have accumulated the 3% to put down on a house. We're hoping that these mortgage companies and whatnot will not have the bubble that they had before when they were giving loans to people who had low-income jobs. Not I support anybody. Anybody has a job and you pay your bills, I don't care what job it is. I love you. That's what you're supposed to do in this world. So I don't care whether you're cleaning toilets, cleaning the bottom of dog cages. I don't care if you're serving food. I don't care whatever job you have. That's what matters. But the concern is that some of those jobs do not pay a lot. And back, as we know, a number of years ago, we had a crash because mortgage companies were giving loans to people who could clearly not pay. So hopefully the mortgage companies have learned their lesson, and banks have learned their lessons as well, that even though someone may come in with 3% or maybe even 20% as a down payment so they can avoid private mortgage insurance, PMI, that they will not give the money to them just because they have a certain percent to put down. They should look at all of their income coming in, what assets they have, what debt they have, debt to credit ratio, and they should look at all of that, and hopefully that they do, so that they don't get these mortgages out there. So that's how they're going to hurt the rest of us who might want to buy property, but with the interest rates, as we know, they're going to go up. I think that they're going to come, the housing market is going to slow down. I think it's going to slow down. To what degree, I don't know. If it does slow down, I think it'll be the mom and pops buying more properties. I think that may slow down. But the big conglomerates, the big companies, I think they're going to ramp it up and buy more and more because a lot of us are looking to get rid of what we have. In your opinion, is the benefits of the Affordable Housing Partnership in Albany and attend our landlord training missing? I didn't realize that you were in our backyard. I will tell you, and I'm sorry I didn't have a banner for it here to show you, but there's an organization that you should join. You can find them on Facebook. Google them. It's called the Capital District Rental Property Owners Association, CADARPO. The Capital District Rental Property Owners Association. We are very active with them. We're becoming more and more active. We were a guest speaker there, and we spoke for an hour and a half, helping the assembly there learn all about the different nuances that we have. The Affordable Housing Partnership, I will tell you that I have done landlord training, and I'd be more than happy to do that again. I've done it before. The issue that I have is that this is an organization that is steered toward tenants. There's some of the information that they may train you. It might conform you to a system that would be more beneficial to tenants than you as the landlord. And I will tell you, I'm here for the landlords. Yes, I work with tenants. Like I said, I've hugged tenants have hugged me. Some tenants have been fantastic. Not gonna say that they're not. But at the end of the day, it is about us landlords and the retention of our properties from those tenants who choose not to pay or destroy the property or both. It is not about that. Landlord training, I will tell you, if you haven't already subscribed, you can see it at the ticker at the bottom of the screen here. That is the Landlord Advocates, our channel on YouTube. We have a team. There's 5 of us. We have assistants, but there's 5 of us on the team. 2 attorneys, myself, who's been in the business now going on 32 years, a real estate broker, a dear friend of mine who may be watching tonight, and a real estate agent who is very well versed in title. And we work together as a team, and we put together this information. If there's any questions, we look at it, we sit on our conference table, and we look at the information and make sure that the information that we share with you is the right information to help you, as our motto is on our channel, when we help landlords become better landlords. And that is our motto at the Landlord Advocates on YouTube. Also, you might want to join and put forth your application to NY Landlords on Facebook. That is one of the channels that we are sharing this on. You're watching this on YouTube. So if you go to NY Landlords, it's got an escape of, I don't know, it's the Brooklyn Bridge in New York City. I apologize. I'm a country guy. I love the country. I have a 3,500 square foot home. It's an Adirondack home, and it's in the woods, and I love it dearly. I love it here. Like I said, it's an Adirondack home. You can't tell by the picture, but it is. If you put forth, you have to apply. And if you do, I'm one of the administrators, and I will approve your application. There's a lot of information to learn there. And as you know, you're watching us on YouTube, and you are more than likely a subscriber, and you're going to learn a lot there. You can ask questions at NY Landlords. But as far as the Affordable Housing Partnership in Albany, I did not do the did not know they did landlord training. I would tell you honestly, if I was one of the presenters there, then I would say yes. But not knowing who the presenters are, and I've gone to some where the presenters are absolute tenant advocates. They will say that they are for both, but at the end of the day, their income comes from how many tenants they help. Their federal funding and their program funding comes from how many tenants they help. Remember that word missing, tenants. So if Affordable Housing Partnership will have to reach out to me at my office, Ideal Legal Support Services, LLC. We're located in Schenectady, New York, and they would like me to come. I'll be more than happy to show that. But in the meantime, you can absolutely join the Capital District Rental Property Owners Association. It's a mouthful. And the president of the group was actually a client of mine, Tom Vandal. Does a great job. And we are actually collaborating together. I am not on the board of directors. I may in the future. But we're collaborating together to grow the organization even more. You can find them on, there's a news journal as well. You can find their website, and you can also find them on Facebook. She beat me to it. So the Capital District Association Condolfo, I believe it's the first one. The Capital District Association of Rental Property Owners. The Capital Area Rental, that's not it. It's not it. It's Condolfo, and you'll see the logo of that. And I'm going to learn more and more about my screens here. And I have multiple screens and multiple cameras. And I will split it with you and I will show you. But it's Condolfo. It's got the letters going up Condolfo in like a triangular formation. And it's a blue background. That's the organization you want to join. You'll see some of my videos on there. You'll see they have a lot of postings about EPA lead paint training that you can get for free. So you can watch it there. But join that. I believe the fee is $50 a year, $50 or $75 a year, but it's well worth it. They're very active, and we are going to become more and more involved. Right now, their meetings are held in the Marriott in downtown Troy. I've been talking with Tom about maybe moving it to a more central location, say like Wolf Road, so that landlords in Albany and Troy and the Saratoga area can hop right on 87 and get there. And then landlords on our side of the town, Schenectady, Rotterdam, Niskayuna, can come on over that way too, Colony, Latham, and all converge together and let our voices be heard. That's what we got to do. And all of you watching now, rather than sitting in front of the TV, I'm giving you all a hug for those watching it live and those that are going to watch it in the replay. I'm giving you a hug because you are part of the reason why we are fighting and why we need to gain back what has been taken from us from the government. We are doing it. You're welcome, Missy. How effective are money judgments? Is there anything we can do now to better our chances? Foxhunt, I love the question. I will tell you. One of the things that I tell all of our clients, when they get that judgment, we tell them to take the judgment paper, the transcript, that is, that you got the money, and take toilet paper. I don't have any in my hand. That's a good thing. But you take toilet paper and the judgment, and you tell me what has more value. I will tell you the toilet paper does. Toilet paper. Because the judgment, unless you know where they're working, unless you know their bank account information, the likelihood of getting that is nil. What I would do, though, is if you do get a judgment, at least file a transcript of judgment from the county clerk's office so that they do try to get a car, a house, that will come up. We've seen a number of people who have won judgments and collected on them 15, 20 years later. And the amount that they collect between poundage and interest sometimes is 15% more than the original judgment. So I do that. How effective are they? For those people that just want to get by every day and have the video game controller and they can fill their face and sleep and get by, that money doesn't mean crap. It's those that want to maybe move forward, maybe get a house. They might wake up someday and say, hey, I want to get a house. I want a car. And then it will. But many landlords don't even bother to go after the money at all. When you do the rental application, like I said, don't ask, it's all about money. Get the information from them. Your application can ask a lot of questions. And, when we may do a video on that, and those of you that want to do that, drop us a line on video ideas that you would like us to do on our YouTube channel. You can go to the channel and leave those ideas for us. And then what we'll do is we'll look at all of them and do even more. We're going to be around for a long time, and we'll do videos on that, on how to acquire money judgments and what to do to graph them, like for an income execution. The best thing that you can do, Foxhound, and everyone else, when you rent to people, get a copy of their driver's license. Get a copy of that. Find out where they work. Just don't go by what they tell you. One of my team members today, who specializes in tenant leasing and tenant placement, provided me with some information. A person's pay stub. It was a mocked copy. And I looked at it and I told her, I says, no, this is fake. There's no way that this person can make the amount of money that they're claiming doing what they're doing. It's fake. And I showed her different areas that she could look. And then she remembered that we dealt with this guy a few years ago. And now here he is again looking for an apartment. We have on our channel also 12 tips to find better, 12 tips to screen and find better tenants. That's a good way in order to get to the point where we may not have to get a money judgment. But if we do, get as much information from your tenants. If they find that they're being evasive, or that they feel that you're being invasive, bye. I don't need you as a tenant. Goodbye. There's plenty of other people that want to apply. Those who have nothing to hide will tell you where they work. They'll tell you what kind of money they make. They will show you that information to ensure that they get the apartment that they're seeking from you. Now, everybody's clamoring. There's not enough housing. We need more housing. Lots of tenants are looking for a place. So it's in our best interest that we can turn down a lot of people. Now, that being said, Foxhound and everyone else, for those of you that are looking to give a reason to somebody for turning them down, for not accepting them into the apartment, you don't have to tell them anything. You don't have to give them an answer. Because a lot of times, for those of you that feel that you should give them an answer, might end up shoving your foot in your mouth. Just say, we found someone else, thank you, and have a great day. Because any ammunition that they give you, trust me, they will turn around and they will use it against you. Rick, I agree, and I appreciate your anger. I really can, because I'm there too. But one of the things I tell you, that I tell clients when they're coming to our office, on your side of the desk, I absolutely will do exactly what you want to do. But on our side of the desk, our team has to point you in the right direction so that it keeps you out of jail, keeps you out of paying fines, keeps you with your family, and keeps the properties with you. I couldn't agree more. The problem is that, yes, what are we going to do? We can go to the legislators. The best thing that we can do right now is to turn out a number of people in New York State government and have it change into other people to remove a lot of the transgressions and oppression that happened to us that happened. People ask me, Matt, when did a lot of this happen? I told them November 2018. And they're like, well, when did that happen? What do you mean? Why November 2018? And my answer to them is, that's when the New York State Senate went from one party control to the other. Now, all of New York State government is under one party control, and that party has been wanting these actions, this legislation, these laws for a long time. But the New York State Senate said no. And when they say no, it can't get any further. It can't go up for a vote in that one house. It can't go to the governor to be voted on, so it would die. So now a lot of the things that have happened to us because of what happened in November 2018. And we have a chance, not a big one, because of New York City and the electorate in there, but we have a chance to change the tide in New York State before we lose all of what we have. Into our own hands, let's meet and compare ideas. Rick, where are you located? What area are you located? I'd be more than happy. I have wanted this for a long time. I'd be more than happy to have us meet somewhere. I can tell you, New York City driving, it's just, it'll kill me. I can't do New York City driving. I'm a country guy. I grew up with my neighbor next door boards horses. So I'm a country guy. But I'd be more than happy to meet. I know that there was a meeting at Vestal that I met when the Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act came into law. We had a meeting there and I did that. I'd be more than happy to meet up with as many landlords in a central location so that we can brainstorm as to what we can do to possibly change what's been happening to us for a long time and have bullet points. One of the things that came up, a lobbyist came to a landlord meeting I was in attendance at. And one of the things I have wanted to have changed more than any other part of the Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act has been the removal of having to know every name of the people that live in your dwelling for an eviction. Even those that we never put into the apartment, we never put them in, we should not have to know all their names in order to get the warrants of eviction to throw them out. I told the lobbyist that this is something that we must work on, and he basically brushed that aside and didn't consider it as an issue that needed to be lobbied. But it sure the hell does. We had a case a number of years ago when we had 4 people in a 3-bedroom apartment, and we got the eviction, got them out. When we went back, when the sheriff went with the landlord to throw the tenant out lawfully with the sheriff there, the 4 people were removed, but when the sheriff went in, there was this many more people. Let me get in the screen here. There was 8 more people. 8 more people living in the apartment. The landlord had to do a whole new eviction on those 8 people. And this can continue on and on and on. So that is the one main aspect of Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act I want to see me removed. Another one is that you can't check names of tenants who have been evicted in the past. What I'm going to do, instead of going on about that could be a topic for another show that we can have where we can get together again with even more landlords to talk about the Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act and the aspects of that which we want to get removed. We can't get them all right now. We know we'll never get them all. That boat sailed. But we can at least work on a number of key points of that rotten law that passed June 14, 2019, and signed by Governor Andrew Cuomo that day, that morning. We can work together and point out maybe 10 points of that law that we want to see be removed. We work on those 10, and then we can work on more and more and more. We have to use the same tactics as tenants. Keep it professional, but we need to be heard, not the tenants, and we're not being heard. Rick, I see your last comment, and I'm fully with you, but I can't share that because we can get ourselves in trouble. And I don't want to get my channel in trouble because I'm here for all of you. But I agree with what you say there. Vote them out. Rick has a few other choice words there that your imagination will. I agree with him. But we need to vote them out. Foxhound, chances of the good cause eviction law passing. I'll answer that, but I think we can do another show. And I'm willing to do shows all the time. I've done a few, but I'm willing to do a lot more if you all say, Matt, let's talk about this. And I can bring guests on the show. I can have 3 or 4 or 5 guests. I can actually have 12 on at the same time. So for those of you that might want to be on the show and on the screen and share the podium with me, I'm more than happy to have you do that. I've done that before. I actually like that. So that we can interact and answer questions. I'm more than happy to do that with those of you. I will tell you, though, that we have to keep it professional. We can't swear. We can't, ass and asinine and jerk and bitch. Those words we can use. But I want to keep it clean and professional so that the government leaders who may see this will realize that we're sane people, angry people, frustrated people, but we're sane and our arguments, there are a lot of logic and reason. We don't want to be like tenants who are screaming, no rent increases for 5 years, evictions kill. I mean, that's absurd. A lot of these groups that do that, I have said right along. I sent the one earlier today on Twitter that they should get the Emmy for the best comedy series. Best. And a lot of them are doing this, and we don't want to have that either. As far as Foxhound asking chance of the good cause law passing, I'm hoping that it is not. I've heard word that it's having an uphill battle. I I intended, and if you go to the channel, you may have already seen it, it's about 60 minutes long, and it's our testimony that was held before the Committee on Housing and the Committee on Law on the New York State Senate on January 7th. It was from like 9 to 6, so that's 7 hours. I left about half an hour, and I go pick up my family member, come back home, and you'll see the testimony that we had, and you'll see also how we were race baiting, and we were also trying to make look like a fool by Senator Julia Salazar and Senator Jabari Brisbois, both of them Democratic socialists who fully support good cause eviction. You'll see how we handled the race baiting issue and how Julia Salazar tried to make me look like a fool, and that was crashed down really bad on her. So go ahead and watch those. We can do a video. Like I said, go to the channel, go to NY Landlords and hit me up there and give me ideas on what you want to have us talk about. It's not about me. It's about us working together. And you might put a spark in my head like Brian did about making the tenants have to give up and forfeit their tax returns for those that have received ERAP. Honestly, I don't know why that didn't enter my head, but that's okay. That was his idea, Brian, and it was a great idea, and I fully support it. I won't say his name, his last name, because I don't know if tenants will go after him, but it was a great idea. That one I can put up, exactly, so that you're welcome. That one I can put up, but I absolutely agree. I agree with your other comments. If you want to, and you don't have to, because I've already told our viewers that your sentiments and how wonderful they are. I can always put them up my screen, but I can't have some of those words in there. But basically what Rick is saying is that we need to vote these people out on their choice words. We need to vote them out now in order for us to keep what we have. Even though I'm sick of winter and the cold, and my driveway's got ice on it, my driveway is 6,400 square feet, and it's a nightmare to get up, even in my four-wheel drive Jeep. It's a pain in the ass. I wanted to be over with, but I'd love it to be the end of October, beginning of November, and we're getting ready to go and vote tomorrow, because the problem is a lot of the electorate seems to have amnesia quite a bit when it comes time to vote. And they look at what other legislators doing for me 3 days ago, a month ago, 2 months ago. They're not remembering how they got shafted 10 months ago, 12 months ago, 24 months ago. That's what we have to remember when we go and vote. That's what we have to remember. My friends, that seems to be the last of our questions, last of our comments. We ask, and hopefully, when I go on this and check, hopefully, we are now over 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel called the Landlord Advocates. This will be shared on the YouTube channel, so you'll be able to see this. Share this in the replay with your fellow landlords. Tell them to subscribe to our channel. Let's get more likes. Let's get more shares. Hit the notification bell on the YouTube channel so you'll be made aware of future videos that we're going to make. Because on top of this, like I was at the office today, we put together quite a few cases for upcoming evictions. My light is here to help as many of you as I possibly can. Because I once too, as a tenant, I was homeless once. And those people in those agencies don't like that. I grew up in a home environment that is not conducive to the one I have now. I have 4 houses, 3 are rentals. I have nice vehicles, a great business. I know what poverty is like. I was homeless when I was 17. I lived in the woods. When I was 17, I had $40 in my name and a box of dirty clothes. I was on my own because I did not live in a family, a home life that was in the direction that I wanted my life to go. Now I have college degrees and all of this. So what's happening is that the advocates for tenants out there don't like to debate me because I know what it's like to go to soup kitchens and bread basket places to get baskets of food and bread. I've been there before and I know what it's like. So they can't argue with me. But I would absolutely love to see me debating the likes of Seal Weaver, Julia Salazar, Jabari Brisbois, and all those tenant advocates. I'll be more than happy to debate you. You just tell me where. Foxhound, thank you. Assuming there are 150,000 ERAP applications pending, your audience can be in the tens of thousands. Let us know what we can do to promote your channel. Thank you so much. Thank you. What we can do is promote it across whatever Facebook groups you're on. If you're on Twitter, LinkedIn, I don't know, there's other platforms out there. I use LinkedIn, Twitter, I use Facebook a lot. But now Facebook has done censoring. We try to share this across many of the groups that we are members of and administrators of. And we did that when we put this out to let you know that we were doing this tonight. And we ended up having Facebook lock us down for 2 days. I should be released now. But we could not share it across all of them because they saw it as spamming. And it wasn't spamming, it's to educate. So how you can promote our channel is let landlords know. When you go to landlord group meetings, real estate investment groups, say, hey, watch this channel. We've had landlords, we had one just the other day who's watching us now who said, I wish I had seen your channel a year ago because I would have saved myself some money and I have more money in my pocket. That's what we're here for. A lot of times, Foxhound and others that may be watching, some get the idea that we make money on our YouTube channel. In fact, we don't. What if I had the other cameras going, you would see I have 5 lights around me right now. 1 overhead, 2 here, 1 on the floor, 1 on the table. We have multiple cameras, multiple microphones. We have other ones here. We have body mics. We have table mics. We have all of that going on. We pay every month to have the ability to do live shows. We pay for our thumbnail programming to make the thumbnails for our YouTube channel. Editing software program costs every month. So we pay a lot for that. If we were to get 1,000 plus subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time in a year of our videos, it might be giving us about $50 a month towards profit, towards what we do here. That's not what we're here for. Having the subscribers and having the watchers and knowing that I've saved you from going in jail, that our team saved you thousands of dollars by not turning off the utilities when you wanted to, turning on the hot water when you wanted to, changing the locks on the door when you wanted to. When we do that and we educate you, that is great satisfaction to me personally, knowing that I saved you, because that house that I saved for you might be the one that keeps you in your home when you retire rather than having to go to a nursing home because you have no more money there. That home that I help you save and the rest that I help you collect by listening and learning from us might give you the money to send your child to college. That's why we do it. Is it a far stretch? It may be, but that's why we do this, to help educate and to help have you make the right decision so you don't screw yourself over later on. And we'll end it on here. Matt, great show. We need more shows, and with it, our numbers will grow. I agree, Phil. We do have the YouTube channel. We are active on Facebook. As you know, Phil, we're very active there. And I'm willing to do more shows. Just don't let me know here. Send it to me so that I can see it at my desk at the office. I can write down channel video ideas that you want, live show ideas that you want. You can do it right on our YouTube channel. Hey, Matt, loved your live show. Can we talk about good cause eviction? Can we talk about House Stability and Tenant Protection Act? Can we talk about leases? Can we talk about the pitfalls of leases? These are all some of the ideas that rumble through my head here that I can share with all of you. You're talking to someone that has done tens of thousands of evictions and has been in the industry. Come May, is entering our 32nd year in this landlord services industry where we help landlords all over the place. So I always hate to close the show when I know that more people are watching, but we've been here for a little over 2.5 hours, which I love doing. But my vet is calling me, so I can be up about 5:30. I get up every morning. But we're going to do more shows. Subscribe to our channel, The Landlord Advocates on YouTube. Join NY Landlords if you're a New York landlord on Facebook. If you're a landlord outside of the area, you can also join us at Landlords Only, with an explanation point at the end of Landlords Only on Facebook. And you can join us there, and we will approve your application to join, and we share information there. So if you're not a New York landlord, you can watch us there. Also on Twitter. Twitter is under my business name, Ideal Legal Support Services, LLC. The same photo that I have for our channel is the same one for Twitter, same one all around. So you'll be able to follow us on Twitter, and we are very active there going after all of these tenant advocates, calling us killers, reason why people died. There was one woman that was found dead on a subway. She was a tenant, unfortunately. She had been evicted some years ago, and now her family did not bother with her, and now they're screaming about how she was found on the subway, bed bugs on her. All sad, absolutely sad. But she was evicted a few years ago. We have shared on Twitter and in some of our instant messaging groups, the administrators of NY Landlords, and in our message groups, I had said, how long is an eviction going to be held over the head of tenants? If a tenant is evicted and 2 or 3 years later they die, are these tenant advocates so foolish and obnoxious and so obscene that they're going to say that the eviction that happened 2 or 3 years ago is the reason why that person died? Really? Really? I mean, come on here. This is stuff that if you get more and more active, those of you that are watching, get your friends who are not watching to watch. Get them to subscribe. Get them to listen to the absurdity that these tenants have. One of the videos that we did recently was about the Crown Heights tenant union. I said that they were in the Bronx on the video. They're actually in Brooklyn. And their demands are so obnoxious and so unbelievable, it will blow your mind away. But watch the other channel, or watch the other videos that we have on our channel. Subscribe to that. Join us on Facebook. And you never know, maybe our next video might be a week from now. What we will do also, let me know when you would like to have the videos. What day of the week? I'm quite busy during the week. I'm available at nights to do videos. A Sunday thing for a couple of hours, 3 hours, I'm willing to do that. But I want to know when it's most convenient for you to let all of your people watch. One of the things I learned from StreamYard, which is the one that we do our videos on, it's a very great program that allows us, and let me get it right here. Let me pull it up here. I apologize, I thought I had it in here. Yes, I do. StreamYard is the one that we do our live shows on. So if StreamYard, I've been watching them and they're telling us that we need to be consistent when we do shows, time and day. So I'm willing to do that, but give us the ideas and let me know that you're going to be here with many, 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 many other landlords and asking lots and lots of questions. The more people that watch, the more people that ask questions, the more shows I'm willing to do for you and us as landlords to make it better for all of us. In the meantime, my friends, I'm going to say good night to all of you. I wish you all a great night. Again, follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter. We are there with you. We are here for you. Until then, take care and have a good night.